Okay. Hello and good morning, and thank you for joining today's webinar. This will be the second of a short series of 4 webinars looking at the key issues that affect card issuers and acquirers. Today, we are going to look at the way legacy systems constrain business and the challenges and opportunities that this presents to both issuers and acquirers. Before we start, let me just cover some basic housekeeping. Next slide, Gary. Okay, sorry about that. And introduce myself. All the phone lines have been placed on mute to keep down interference. However, we do encourage you to ask questions, and these should be typed into the box on the right of the WebEx screen and sent to the host. I will try and cover as many as possible at the end of the session. Your presenter today is Paul Love. I'm a consultant at ACI Worldwide with responsibility for the issuing and acquiring business within our retail payments practice. I recently attended EFMA in Paris, where innovations and growing new business through new products and channels were a major theme of the 3 days. Let me also now introduce ACI. As you may be aware, ACI is a global payments company with over 750 customers around 90 countries. Our software underpins electronic payments throughout retail and wholesale banking all the time without fail. In EMEA, we have over 230 customers, with offices in many of the major financial centres throughout the region, and knowledgeable staff who understand their local markets. ACI has a 35-year track record in the payments business, and is best known for its Base24 product, which is installed at many of the world's leading banks. During that time, ACI has also acquired new products and grown into new vertical markets, such as risk management and wholesale banking payments. In EMEA, ACI has had a card management solution for the last 15 years, which is currently in use with over 20 customers throughout the region. Traditionally, ACI is well known for its strength in the network interface domain with Base24 and PRM. However, the acquirer and issuer products sit in the customer and merchant management domain. They offer solutions for managing the relationship with merchants and cardholders, their cards and accounts. The primary focus is to support the revenue generation activities of acquirers and issuers. ACI Interchange adds a clearing and settlement solution to the network interface domain. With these new capabilities, ACI is now able to offer a full end-to-end solution as part of an integrated retail payment solution. In today's webinar, we are focusing on one area where these new solutions enable ACI to bring new value to card issuers and acquirers. So, let's now look at how the legacy systems constrain issuers and acquirers' cards businesses and the challenges and opportunities it presents. Most issuers and acquirers have multiple legacy systems, whether these are their card systems or other core banking and accounting systems. While they often work to specifications and perform their functions as defined when they were first built, they cause problems to organizations for which the business has since transformed beyond recognition. We will look more closely at the main strength factors for legacy systems as listed here over the next few slides. But an important point to make here is that living and operating with legacy systems is not in itself a bad thing. In fact, it is the status quo for the vast majority of major banks. However, for those banks that have multiple legacy systems and are experiencing the stress points listed above, running a business in this way is like keeping plates spinning in the air. The solution is unsustainable in the longer term, as at some point in the future, either the banks will not want to pay the cost of keeping all the plates spinning, or they will want to add other plates into the mix, but they will find that they do not have sufficient plate spinning skills to keep them all in the air at the same time. One of the main legacies facing many larger banks is that they have developed their business. Is that as they have developed their business and launched new products, new and separate systems have been created to meet the new requirements and to support these products. Over time, these banks now have many separate and isolated systems, with teams of people usually performing similar functions, but for different products or segments of the card portfolio. For issuers, examples include separate debit systems, which have grown through adding cards to current accounts, credit systems, which were often set up as standalone business units, corporate card systems, again, another separate business unit, but dealing with corporate clients rather than retail clients, loans, which have also been regarded as a separate line of the credit business, and recently, prepaid, which has added other new systems to reflect a new card type. I also know of several European banks that have specific silos for different payment schemes, with different systems being used for both the domestic network and international payment schemes. Acquirers have also developed and inherited different systems for managing different sections of their business. For example, managing normal retail merchants, and then the highly specific requirements of the large retail chains. The silo approach may have been an inevitable result in the past, given how payment types have developed, but it has blinded the banks to the overall value of their combined systems and is now constraining their business. The aging technology problem I would like to focus on today is with the legacy applications rather than the hardware or infrastructure. The picture here illustrates how application software has developed phenomenally over the last 30 years. Imagine trying to compete in the modern Wii tennis world of the cards market when you are only armed with the original Sega Pong application from over 30 years ago. Comparisons between modern graphical user interfaces and the old green screen interfaces to applications are equally valid, but the visible interface is only the tip of the iceberg. The data models of earlier card systems were very card and transaction-centric and do not readily adapt to today's customer and account-centric view of the world, where the card, or in the future a contactless mobile phone, for example, provides the channel to the market. Let me give you a couple of examples where adding data structures in credit card systems meant that the market innovations, where aging data structures in credit card systems meant that market innovations could not be supported out of the box without major development. For example, being able to stop and replace lost cards on an account individually and without transferring the underlying account on a system where all card numbers are identical and derived from the underlying account number. Or offering different credit card rates for different transaction types, such as balance transfers or major purchases, when the system only has a limited set of interest rates, often restricted to purely cash and retail transactions. In the days of relational databases and SQL queries, older flat file systems and batch-based update cycles lock away valuable customer and account data and make it inaccessible to the management information systems. From a development and maintenance perspective, it is also very difficult to add new data items, let alone entities, to support new products. Supporting such systems relies on an ever-decreasing pool of rare skills. Not only does this make it expensive to retain these skills, but also adds the risk that the system will become unsupportable as those skilled staff leave the organization at the end of their careers. By their nature, card systems are a key system within banks, and integration is a major requirement. As banks replace surrounding systems, maintaining this integration becomes yet another maintenance burden. A recent trend is to try and build an SOA wrapper around such legacy systems to provide a clean and consistent interface to the surrounding infrastructure. However, this is not trivial when the data models are inconsistent. It is also investing further valuable resources into a fundamentally flawed application and applying yet another sticking plaster solution. When banks merge or acquire other banks, this always results in duplicated systems. The justification for any acquisition usually includes cost savings from rationalization, but in many cases, these duplicate systems live on long beyond the planned migrations. However, legacy systems often live on well beyond their planned dates due to, for example, integration within other siloed systems, different business processes being supported on those platforms, and a lack of priority in the face of other merger and business-as-usual activities. Expansion across border is usually another cause of duplicated systems, either as a result of acquisitions or by setting up new systems for specific markets, as the core system cannot cope with domestic networks or local requirements. Where international operations have local solutions, there can be a feeling that the solution does actually suit the local market. However, such solutions will not suit the global brand and will not readily allow for standard international products to be rolled out. How long can local solutions provide value for money in an international bank? We heard at the EFMA conference that international retailers actually want to simplify their requiring relationships to a single cross-border acquirer, rather than use acquirers in each country. To capitalize on this opportunity, the cross-border acquirers need a harmonized and uniform system, and not separate systems in each country they operate in. Just when you think the picture is bad enough, we are still adding new silos. In many cases, these are justified by the requirements for speed to market with new products and technology, where old systems cannot cope. While these systems may be built using the latest technology, they are still adding greater pressure to the infrastructure and overall maintenance burden, and increase the overall complexity to the organization. So, what are the impacts of maintaining such legacy systems? Well, with legacy systems, the past defines the future. With the design and architecture of applications rooted firmly in the past, it is very difficult to move forward and grow new business. A common feature of old mainframe systems is that the data is locked away in flat files and is not readily accessible for queries or for MIS, which is the lifeblood of banks looking to grow their business. I gave some examples earlier of where adding aging data structures did not support current market demands. But in addition, these card-based data structures do not enable a true customer-level view to be made available across the bank. And we have not even started to think about the development costs and time required to implement new products and channel innovation, when the systems were conceived and designed in the days before modern mobile phones had even been invented. How can issuers and acquirers grow their business in the future when their systems struggle to support the requirements of today's market? How do you capture the initiative if the pace of change of your organization is limiting your speed to market? For many legacy systems that are not configurable, any new product innovation requires development work of some sort. This takes time and effort. In such situations, there is always a queue of work waiting for valuable resources that are able to develop such changes. Typical small changes, for example, to add a simple variation or a new option to a product, which would be a parameter change on a screen on a modern system, can take as long as 6 to 9 months by the time they've developed, gone through the full project lifecycle and the testing and release processes. How can a bank with a 6 to 9 month lead time compete effectively in a fast-moving market? Let me ask a question at this point. Why is a legacy system like a Formula One car? Okay, well, I will give you the answer. They are both highly customized machines that have long, labor-intensive development paths. They both need a large support team, such as development resources, to keep operational. The highly skilled people required to run and maintain the systems are both rare and expensive, and they are both expensive to run. Sadly, the similarities do not stretch to the speed and cornering abilities or the pleasure of owning or driving such a machine. A serious point, however, is that with legacy systems, you are paying all the costs of running a unique Formula One car, where a modern production car would meet all your requirements. In addition, the modern production car analogy would have a recognized service schedule and a dealer network to get the work done, and it would also have a warranty. How do we recognize if your business is constrained by legacy systems? A good place to start is to ask how you allocate your IT resources. At the recent ACI Payments Forum, several banks said that their IT resources were split 80-10-10, with 80% spent on operations and maintenance, and a further 10% on regulations and compliance. This leaves only 10% for investment in new products and innovation. Banks with a ratio like this are often paying the price of maintaining multiple legacy systems. As we know, maintaining business as usual is vital for issuers and acquirers, and there is always going to be more on the business as usual to-do list than there is resource to support it. So the resources for innovation cannot grow unless the balance is redressed. Simply spending more, assuming the economy would permit it, is not an option, as it is usually then spread across the whole IT budget in the same ratio, so only 10% of any new resources will hit the desired target. Banks need to find a way to change the balance and focus on the innovation that will drive their business in the future. They need to find ways to reduce spending on the day-to-day maintenance and operations to free up resources for investment in such innovation. So where is the management focus? The third annual Digital IQ survey of 724 business and technology leaders, recently released by Diamond Management and Technology Consultants, uncovered some key observations on management focus in high-performing organizations. This showed that in 77% of the top firms, the CEO was a champion of IT's business value, and there was a high level of integration of business and technology. The data supports the idea that aligning business and technology starts right at the top of an organization. However, the survey also showed that 3 out of 4 CIOs were focused not on driving new products or services, but improving the customer service, but on internal business process or IT improvements. One possible explanation for this is that keeping so many plates spinning takes management focus away from the important issues of growing the business. The report also showed that 68% of the top quartile firms had a single roadmap for their corporate strategy, and that only 44% of the lower performing firms indeed had such a roadmap. The final conclusion in the report showed that for a CIO, the key to success is the alignment, mobilization, and execution, and to drive new business value in addition to running the function efficiently. In the last webinar, I stated that the obvious answer to reducing cost and complexity was consolidating a house of cards to a single platform. Today, we have looked at some of the drivers that support this conclusion from a legacy systems perspective. These legacy systems provide the silos and the complex architecture that the house of cards is built on. Replacing multiple legacy systems with a single platform will reduce complexity, reduce duplicated costs of providing business as usual across many systems, and free up the skilled resources for innovation and not firefighting. It would also allow banks to be much more flexible and responsive and provide a platform for future growth. Banks would be able to do more with fewer resources. If it was that easy, why have banks not done it all yet? Why have banks not done this yet? While the end result represents a prize worth fighting for, the task of getting there is daunting. The migration costs, organizational inertia, and lack of management focus are powerful inhibitors, and many banks continue to apply sticking plaster solutions to individual systems rather than looking at the big picture. However, as I said last week, for one of the world's largest banks, Santander, such an approach is their key to successfully growing their business. Every new bank they acquire is migrated to their core Python platform. So they are avoiding silos, creating silos through acquisitions. So, how can banks start to achieve this vision? Okay, the picture shows here a man with dreaming, blue skies dreaming, but blue skies thinking is just dreaming unless you have a plan to take you forward. So what are the key steps to overcoming some of the challenges of legacy systems? First is to identify a go-forward platform as the basis for consolidation. Can any of your current platforms provide a basis for the future? You should review your current platforms to see any of them are capable of supporting all your products, supporting all your geographies, and also supporting the combined volumes. Many banks have found, after a series of mergers and acquisitions, that none of the multitude of systems they have acquired are actually fit for this purpose, and they have decided to find a new go-forward platform. It's also a good opportunity to look for any short-term plans that may provide a catalyst, as consolidation in itself is not an exciting subject. If there is a new business project in the bank, that could be used to generate some focus for the start of a consolidation project. For example, are there any low-hanging fruit where a replacement system is desperately needed? The next step is to identify a migration strategy, as it is both almost impossible and highly risky to attempt to do this all at once. Investigate the priorities for a phased migration approach, for example, country by country, system by system, product by product, or portfolio by portfolio. All of these are valid approaches, and the answer will be different for each bank. Some important factors to take into account are the integration requirements for each of the systems, process realignment, and the impacts on staff of customers of moving from one system to another, and the timing of any infrastructure savings, especially if there are complex interdependencies between systems. The impact on business as usual during any migration project needs to be fully assessed. As in the internet age, outages, either planned or unplanned, are not an option. Providing the return on investment for consolidation is key to securing the commitment and funding to start such a major undertaking. While the technology and system migration costs can be quantified, it is vital to take full account of the costs of migrating the process and people across the legacy systems. This will represent a major cost element, but will also be the source of significant operational benefits. I would just like to summarize now by just asking some key questions. So, are you ready for the future? Can you keep up with the ever-increasing rate of change in the card market and be ready to exploit the new payments trends that are emerging? Does your current card platform give you the ability to react to market changes and grow your business by exploiting new channels or new vertical markets? Does your cost base allow you to invest the valuable resources required to drive innovation? And the most important question of all, if you are not there yet, do you have vision of the future and a plan to get there? As the pace of change is accelerating, banks need a flexible and responsive card platform that can handle both the current payment systems and future payment methods. By building the infrastructure and flexibility required now, issuer and acquirers will have a platform that will allow them to move quickly and maintain their current competitive position in the market, while at last focusing on their most important asset, their customers. Thank you for your attention. I would now like to open the session up for any questions. Okay, well, I do have some questions already, so please type in any further questions into the box on the right-hand side of the WebEx screen and send them to the host, and I will try and answer them. Okay, so the first question I had was, how old is the legacy system? Is it 10 years, 20 years, or say 30 years old? Well, I would say a very simple answer to that is that typically people view legacy systems as maybe something over 20 years old. But I think the answer is more complicated than that. And I would say that any system that is no longer actively being invested in by a bank or maintained as a way of carrying the business second question I have is, what should the split on resources be if 80-10-10 is not efficient? Well, in answer to that question, I would say 80-10-10 may be efficient, but it is not actually investing in the future. By trying to reduce the number of systems and the absolute size of the 80% development piece, that should really enable you to change the overall mix to say something closer to 75-25. That's where I would say organisations should be trying to get to. Okay. Next question I had was, surely a system that supports all types of cards will not be that good if it is not focused on a particular business domain, e.g. prepaid. Okay, well, what I would say to this is that what about the crossover products? For example, we're seeing examples of corporate prepaid cards. This is where you would want to take prepaid functionality but apply it to a corporate hierarchy as currently supported by corporate card programs on credit card systems. I think to summarize that, in a common platform, you're actually going to be able to provide all the types of card functionality and all types of card account functionality, irrespective of channel, which is also much more important with the rising tide of mobile phones, contactless payments, and e-commerce transactions. I think we're looking to try and provide a mix where you can take the best of the products and apply them to whichever channel you need. So I would say niche silos are not a good way forward for business. Okay. I just going to have. Okay, I just have another question. Legacy systems are usually intended on mainframe platforms, or also older platforms can be considered legacy. I think legacy. I agree with you. In the olden days, legacy meant mainframe because they were the old systems. I think these days, as I said earlier, my definition of a legacy system is a system that is not being really maintained by the bank as part of their business going forward. Now, they're not investing in it to carry the business forward. They are using it for business as usual day to day and struggling to cope with innovation. At that point, I think any system, whichever platform it's on, should be regarded as a legacy system. Any more? Okay, I just have one final question, which is quite interesting. So this is, how long would such an implementation be likely to take? Okay, this is obviously a very, very key question, and it was very difficult to give a specific answer, obviously. But I would say an implementation like a common platform across all cards across the whole bank is a very big commitment. It's a long-term commitment. I think a migration plan should be drawn up which suits the abilities of the bank to continue day-to-day business, but also bear in mind that at some point they want to be free of the constraints of their legacy platform and be able to move forwards. So it really depends on the level of investment the bank wants to put into such a project. To be slightly more specific, though, I would say, maybe as a guide, that migrating systems from one system to another should be looked at as taking somewhere between 6 to 9 months, especially in the mainframe example, as the previous question asked. But if you're in an environment with multiple legacy systems, then building a standard approach for migration into a target infrastructure should help speed up subsequent migrations and get some economies of scale out of the process. So I would see an accelerated path as you move through and gain some experience of migration onto a new platform. But Again, it comes down to how ambitious your bank is and what your overall objective is and what your plan is, without endangering your business going forward and your customers. Okay. Um, I think that's the end of all the questions we have so far. Okay. Well, in that case, I will. In that case, I will try and move to the next slide and close the call. So thank you. My WebEx is stuck. So thank you for attending today's webinar. I hope you found it interesting and useful. A recording of this will be made available on the ACI website shortly. Oh, here it is. The next, may I take the opportunity to remind you, the next webinar, Growing Business in the Face of Regulation and Competition, will be broadcast in a fortnight's time, the 21st of October at 12 p.m. UK time. Thank you very much and goodbye.